He was the first to be the lowest.
All right, so we're in Revelations chapter 2, verse 8, and it says, "To the angel of the church in Smyrna, write, these are the words of him who is the first and the last, who died and came to life."
Now, Jesus says he's the first and last to the church members in Smyrna.
Right, so let's take a little closer look at this. The word first in Greek is protos, which has a wide range of meanings and definitions in Strong's Concordance, as you would expect.
It does, and these meanings range from being first in a place or first in a succession or the chief, and even as a reference to being the former.
Right, and then the word last in Greek is eschatos, which has several meanings also, and they range from being last in a place, last in time, maybe great of worth, and even it has reference to the lowest of something as compared to other items on a shelf or something of that nature, right?
That's right. You know, Jesus used these terms in conjunction with the fact that he had died and came to life for a specific reason.
This choice of words is in this passage is a little bit different in purpose and meaning than when he mentioned this in chapter 1 in the previous chapter in Revelations here.
And actually, here's what it says in Revelations chapter 1, verse 18. It said, "I am the Alpha and the Omega," it says the Lord God, who is, who was, and who is to come, the Almighty.
In Revelations chapter 1, verse 8, Jesus makes it clear that he is the great I am spoken of in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, when he tells Moses that he should tell the Israelites that his name is the I am that I am, the everlasting one, the one who has always been, who will always be, and so they would identify him as the God who's always been talking to them.
And Almighty, the Almighty. So in Revelations chapter 2, verse 8, Jesus knows the persecution taking place in Smyrna. So he wants to identify with them on that personal level and that one-on-one connection in their situation.
As we read the letter to Smyrna, we begin to understand that Jesus and they are connecting with how well that they have walked out their faith, and that, you know, he knows that they're facing persecution as well.
And Jesus reminds the church in Smyrna that he was also persecuted and that he is a suffering servant just like them.
Here's what it says in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 4, and it says, "Surely our griefs he himself bore, and our sorrows he carried. Yet we ourselves esteemed him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted."
One of my favorite verses. And there's something very powerful when a person in a position of authority reminds us that they understand us.
Right, and that they've also been through what we're currently experiencing.
That empathy factor, right?
Absolutely.
Now, there's a benefit for the church in Smyrna to be reminded that he was the first to become the lowest and who had suffered and died for the gospel.
Right, and also that he was the first to be raised to life.
Right.
So here he's really connected, you know. Now, it is good to know that Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega, the everlasting and the mighty one for sure, right?
But there's a unique impact that comes when during, the time we remember that Jesus really was the first to be treated and as the lowest and suffer. I mean, especially during our suffering and our persecution.
Here's what it says in Hebrews chapter 2, verse 18. "Because he himself suffered when he was tempted, he is able to help those who are being tempted."
Right. Now, when God came to earth in the likeness of a sinful man and suffered, it was a display of his love and desire to restore mankind back into fellowship with him.
Now, he didn't suffer, die, and be raised again so that he could outmaneuver Satan for power. He did it so that God could actually overcome Satan through mankind. So God actually has an upper hand on Satan no matter what. God did not have to hoodwink Satan to be able to get power back. God died and was raised to life again through Jesus so that mankind could have power over Satan. And that's the awesome thing about it, right?
Well, Jesus is telling the Christians in Smyrna, as well as you and I, that there is power over Satan when we endure suffering just like he did.
Thank you for joining Les and Tracy King for A Word on the Word. Visit awordontheword.tv to receive their latest audio or video broadcast. A Word on the Word is sponsored by First Century Ministry